Hey everybody, it's Josh Ellsworth with Stalls, and we had a webinar planned for 2 o'clock Eastern time today that was through our webinar platform, and we are having technical difficulties. So we've just announced to that audience that we are moving the stream over to live on our YouTube channel here at Stalls TV. And so we're just going to give it a few minutes for folks to log in and start watching the stream. But we have a great presentation planned for today where we're going to share feedback and insights from a customer survey that we had completed. So if you're watching, just shout out so I know. Thanks for saying hello, Rob. I know that there are folks joining us from that platform. We're going to give them a couple minutes to move over, and then we're going to get started with today's presentation, which again is all about a survey that we put out back in June to a large variety of apparel decorators that are doing business and have been doing business with Stalls. And so I think the data here, it's from your peers, and it's really going to help you in your decorating business, understanding what people are doing, how they're being successful, where they're struggling, and hopefully give you these ideas on changes that you can make to your business or what should be your next step in your business, what you should be thinking about. So finally able to see on YouTube. What's up, Mark? Thanks for joining us over here. I am so sorry for the inconvenience, guys. We didn't expect this issue to happen, but it happened. And so we call an audible, and here we are broadcasting live on YouTube. And you didn't miss anything, Chris. We are literally, I'm just killing time to make sure everybody can get over here. We will finish the presentation in plenty of time, as was scheduled, from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And good news, we're getting a global audience here on YouTube. And sorry, we didn't have the live link before we made the changeover. It was a quick decision and just moved over here to go ahead and get started. So we have about over 100 people watching live right now. So I feel pretty confident that that is a large majority of the audience. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll get started with today's presentation, which is our customer survey insights. And wow, there's just a lot to unpack. And so let's start here. And by saying that this survey was sent out back in June, and we really want to share the mix of who responded to the survey. It was for our first year doing a survey of this nature from Stalls and Stalls Transfer Express. It was a pretty meaningful response. We want to walk you through the exact numbers so you kind of know who we're sharing information from. And so we had 857 respondents, which was a great number to get us started. And of that respondents, here were their profiles. So 70% of those who responded were operating full-time apparel decorating businesses, and 30% of those businesses were part-time. And within that profile, it was about a 50-50 split between those who are operating their apparel decorating business within their home or outside of their home. So it gives you a good idea of some of what's happening out there from these responses. Also, I think it's important to note that a lot of the businesses that have responded have been in business for at least 2 years. And that was something we wanted to target with this survey. We wanted to share experience from folks who have made it past that key milestone of being in business 18 months and kind of show the longevity. That they're serious about this, what they're doing is working, and this is a consistent apparel decoration business, even if it is out of the home or part-time. These are serious companies, serious entrepreneurs who want to grow their apparel decorating business. And 63%, the majority, have been in business 6+ years, right? Having said that, we definitely have small businesses that are sharing and micro businesses, so the majority that have 5 employees or less. But we do have a mix of some large businesses in here as well that are doing high revenue numbers with 11+ employees. Last little bit on the respondent profile is we asked the question, what type of business are you in? And the vast majority just identify themselves as custom apparel decorators. Now, we did see a mix of other type of business segments, from sporting goods customers to promotional products distributors to promotional product suppliers, clothing brands, and even a small mix of hobbyists. But mainly the majority of our audience just identifies as custom apparel decorators. And I think you'll see that hold true in some of the data that's shared, and that it's a lot of multidiscipline shops that are doing more than just one thing, serving more than just one market in their business. And This is absolutely being recorded, and we will make plans for the PowerPoint to be shared out as a PDF with those who had originally registered for the session over in our Webinar Jam platform. And so with a good understanding of the profile, again, a lot of full-time businesses, some out of their home, some outside of their home, been in business for multi-years, we wanted to share just some data around sales, around where you're selling, some of the results, and some of what you're expecting as you move forward. And so when we asked the question on how many of you are selling online in this survey, we saw about 44% are selling online with a dedicated e-commerce site, meaning you can take an order start to finish online, take payment information, and process an order. That doesn't mean that the majority didn't have some form of online presence. We asked specifically on who is conducting business and can sell online. And of those 44%, Shopify was the clear #1 platform that people were utilizing. Now, different web platforms have their benefits. We're not going to get into that, but what we see from the audience that responded to the survey, Shopify was by far the #1 e-commerce platform that was being utilized. The next closest was the Square platform, which was about 14% of the audience. Now, we asked another question all about web stores. And so we believe at Stalls, and I firmly believe this, that web stores are a really important part of the sales motion for an apparel decorator. And so it's good to have kind of a general website, but having client specific web stores, at least in all the data I've looked at, even apart from this survey, makes for a more successful apparel decoration shop. And so we asked how many of you are utilizing web stores, and 37% of the audience were utilizing this way to sell. But in its traditional definition of client-specific web stores, I think the number is actually less than 37% because we had a lot of other responses, as you see in the data there, where people were using like a Shopify or Square online and kind of using it like a dedicated client store, but not the exact definition of how platforms like Order My Gear or Spirit Sale or Inksoft or Chipley operate. And again, this was a Stalls audience, so not surprisingly, the Spirit Sale platform had high percentage of market for those using web stores, since that is the Stalls web store solution. But we saw a fair amount of other solutions out there as well, including Order My Gear or through their recent acquisition of Bright Stores in the promo products market being a top solution. And then the third highest was Inksoft. We also saw a lot of team uniform orders or Chipley, just didn't rank in our top 3. And so I would recommend that if you're not using web stores and you're not selling online, that was one of my first takeaways for you as an apparel decorator, to encourage you to really pursue e-commerce. All the data we see out there in the industry points to continued growth in e-commerce. Actually, we know that 73 cents of every dollar that are spent in advertising are spent in online buys. And so we see the trend in the movement to e-commerce continuing to grow. And I think it will be an important part of the future for many apparel decorators. And I think one of the easiest ways to start there is to adopt a web store solution, regardless of which one it is on the list. It's just a great way to be able to transact business and grow your sales. And so that was one of my first takeaways. And I have several of these takeaways on slides as we go through, which is really just my read and perspective on this to help your business. And so when we look at other sales locations other than online, 38% were selling in a retail storefront. 17% were selling in a mobile setting. So this means like going out and perhaps doing an activation or on-site printing, whether that's from a trailer, a pop-up, a table at an event. And then 14% were selling in a third-party marketplace. And that's defined as like selling on Amazon or Etsy or eBay or some platform outside of your own dedicated e-commerce site. I actually expected that number to be a bit higher, but I think people are generally not selling there because some of the fees that come along with selling on those marketplaces. Of course, it also comes with good exposure and being found because consumers shop on those marketplaces. So I would encourage you, look at third-party marketplace. Is there a way to implement a strategy that allows your company and your brand to be found there, but really drives business back in a way that's in accordance to all the policies of the marketplace, but drives awareness back to your brand in your store. And so there were about 800 and some people that responded to the survey, much more than 12, Doug, for sure. And I shared that info, and so you can watch that back on the recording. It's 857, I think, were the numbers of respondents, Bonnie. So sales growth. We asked about sales growth historically. And so over the last 12 months, here's what was happening with the decorators. 78% of people that responded, their sales either increased or they stayed the same, with the vast majority increasing. And of those that were growing in sales, the majority grew their sales in the last 12-month period. Again, the survey period was basically June to June, because we issued it in June. So last 12-month sales, majority grew in that 6 to 10% range, with a fair amount growing 25% as the next highest growth rate amount. Only 9% of people decreased when they look at their sales versus the prior year. And so my takeaway from that is decorators are growing. Again, this is the Stalls and Transfer Express customer base that's responding. And so they're winning with heat printing technology. And not only are they winning with the technology, or you winning, I should say, with the technology, but you expect to keep growing. And so we also asked of, what do you think is going to happen for the next 12 months? And 76% had a positive outlook on the next 12 months and expected, based on the plans they've put in place and where their business is today, that they expect to continue the growth trajectory into the next 12 months, with only 4% expecting a decrease. So very optimistic group. Why would you plan to fail, so to speak, as well? So I think that plays into this as well. But based on the past performance, I expect that future performance will be good for the decorators that have been in business 2+ years, which was the majority that responded to this survey. Now, when we talk about growing, one of the questions we wanted to know is, what are the top business opportunities that you are planning to pursue as a decorator to really fuel that growth? And 40% of the group that responded said they plan to add decorating technology as a path to growth, as something that they're going to pursue. And what's really interesting in this is that the majority of the growth planned in investing in new decorating technology was a growth in capacity and not necessarily a new capability. So not like moving from embroidery and adding screen printing, for instance, like continue to invest in embroidery, whatever the decoration technology that they were winning with now, just adding capacity and growing that way with additional equipment. Now, 33% of the audience plan to invest in increasing marketing spend, and then also 29% entering a new market. And so we definitely want to dive deeper on the decorating technologies that we're talking about, also the products that we're talking about. And so I really want to focus in on this 40% for a moment and talk about the growth and the addition of new decoration technology and how people are planning to invest their dollars. And so the next section is all about capabilities. What are your current processes? What are the current technologies that you're utilizing, the current products, and what do you plan to expand into, so we can get a good lens of these successful companies and perhaps what we can be doing differently in our decorating business. So the current capabilities, we asked basically about the big 4 or 5 decoration technologies that are out there. And so from these 850+ respondents, 29% were direct screen printing in-house. 35% were outsourcing, and 35% did not offer screen printing as a product offering in their business. And we asked the same question for all of those. And you'll note that more often than other processes, people had embroidery in-house. More often than not, people outsourced screen printing than doing it in-house, again, from this audience alone. When we looked at direct-to-garment printing, which has been kind of the latest and greatest technology, I would say, of the last 10 to 15 years, at least hyped as that, what we're finding is from this audience, this customer base of ours, only 16% have direct-to-garment printing in-house. A small percentage as well outsourcing it, and the vast majority not offering direct-to-garment printing in their mix, which means they're finding other product solutions to achieve the same or similar things, or they're not seeing demand from the markets that are being served. Now, we also asked about sublimation as the other sort of headline digital technology alongside DTG in the industry. And we are seeing a fair amount of people doing sublimation in-house, and also a fair amount of people outsourcing. So if you look at screen printing, embroidery, and sublimation, you'll notice it's split about a third, a third, a third between in-house, outsourcing, and not offering. If we look at DTG, we're seeing that's a technology that most people aren't adopting from these respondents. And so one thing I wanted to point out again with my advice from reading this data and seeing what's happening is you may want to look at this outsourcing number. If you're not outsourcing screen printing, embroidery, sublimation today, I think the technologies do offer something valuable that you can be selling in your business, depending on what markets you serve. And often contracting out the work is a leaner path to expansion. So we're not increasing our overhead in our business or space, or basically with the increased cost of capital and borrowing, we're not having to invest huge money into adding processes. And so it seems like a lot of folks that are being successful are outsourcing these technologies, about 33% on average. And so if you're not doing that in your business, I think it's something that you should perhaps look at as you move into the future. Now, of course, we wanted to have a separate section on heat printing technology because Stalls and Transfer Express are focused on heat printing as a technology. And so we asked decorators, what are your heat printing technologies, transfer types, more or less, that you're utilizing in your business? And not surprisingly, screen printed transfers headline the list. So 89% of the people that responded are leveraging screen printed transfers to their business. For those that aren't using screen printed transfers, we like to say this is a way you can have most of the benefits of screen printing in a print on demand environment in a small footprint just with a heat press. Great for 1 to 3 color jobs, kind of those mid to higher quantities, 24 pieces or more. Screen printed transfers are a viable way to decorate with a high quality look, and people are realizing that. We still see a fair amount of adoption in heat transfer vinyl. And so it serves a purpose in the market for instant customization, for team names and numbers, and being able to create stuff on demand with special effects for a lot of markets. And people are finding value in heat transfer vinyl at an 85% rate of people adopting it in their business. Now, this is an up and comer. If you haven't looked at direct to film, you need to. Stalls manufactures and sells direct to film transfers. And we've only really had them on the market for just less than 2 years. I would say it's been about, what has it been, 20 months, 21 months. And to see this rate of adoption across the audience in direct to film tells me this is a technology that is not only going to solve a lot of problems, but is going to continue to grow. Screen printed transfers have been out for decades. 89% of the customer base that responded is utilizing them. 82% already in just about 21 months in direct to film adoption is tremendous. Certainly something you should look at in your business. The advantage of direct to film: high color count designs, low quantity designs, very quick, very easy, and a lot of fabric flexibility with the products that you can accommodate. Emblems and patches, a product that's been out from Stalls for, I'd say, about 3 to 5 years, and 74% of the audience is adopting them. I think this is pretty high, but one of the reasons it's lower is because lower heat technology, and so new equipment investment is required to really be able to apply emblems and patches in the best way to the most variety of products. And so I think that one kind of holds this category back a little bit as people work over time to upgrade their equipment. And when they invest in new equipment, investing in equipment that has lower heat to be able to heat this patch basically from the bottom up so you're not damaging your products. And then we asked about rhinestones because I've heard that rhinestones are coming back. And so it was interesting to point out right now about 29% of the audience are offering rhinestones. I would bet that if we had some comparative data that rhinestones used to be, 15 years ago at 80%, they probably dipped down into the single digits. And I do think they're coming back with a little bit of a resurgence. We don't offer a rhinestone solution at Stalls, but rhinestones are certainly a product that you can apply with your heat press. And it's interesting to see that about 30% of the audience is offering rhinestones. So I wanted to highlight this for you and just basically say that it's good to simplify and like consolidate into one transfer type. There's certainly benefits to that, but what the data shows me is that each of the core transfer types present unique value, And as an apparel decorator, you really need to understand each of these transfer types that are highlighted and make sure that you are considering them for the markets that you're serving, and that you have the understanding of what to use when it comes to these transfer types, and what creates value and profit for you as a business based on accommodating the job with as least cost as possible or as high quality as possible to increase the sale price. So that's a little bit about the heat printing technology utilized from the audience. Now, we asked, and feel free to ask questions on here, guys. This is designed to be interactive. I know I'm dumping a lot of data and insight at you, and you want to watch it back to digest. But if you have questions throughout, I would encourage you to just type in and ask those. The next question we asked the audience was expansion priorities. And so a lot of folks, 56% plus, expect to invest in new equipment and software next year. And so we asked, what type of equipment are you growing your capability in? We saw, much like current adoption, direct to garment was the softest. And so this is from the smallest to the largest, with 12% expecting to invest in a direct to garment printer for their shop, 17% expected to bring screen printing in-house, 18% expecting to bring laser engraving in-house, 20% sublimation, 22% investing in a direct to film printer, 32% embroidery, and 48%, which is huge from a base that's already has heat press capability, to continue to invest in heat press equipment as a way to grow. And so I've always loved kind of the way these two technologies work together, embroidery and heat press equipment. And so if you're looking to start a shop or have some basic capabilities, I love the way embroidery and heat press equipment pair out there together. There's a lot of applications for both, but they both present two kind of unique results that allows you to do anything from quantities of one, especially with the single head embroidery equipment, all the way to bulk quantities with some of the larger scale embroidery equipment, or even some of the more automated heat press equipment. So those are your peers' investment priorities as it comes to product expansion. Now, software investment priorities, another important question. Not many people expected to invest in ERP software. Not too many people concerned about cybersecurity, at least from this group. And this one was interesting to me. 18% plan to invest in shop management software. I'd say a pretty low number. But the majority of the audience, we asked in a separate question, are you using a shop management software? And 80% are not using one, right? And so I would expect there would be some benefits in shop management investments. It might be something that you want to consider and understand the benefits of how you can improve your efficiency with shop management software. 22% expected to invest in e-commerce software, again, to be able to transact business online. And then 25%, the majority of, I'm sorry, not the majority, but the highest number of respondents from a software question expected to invest in design software, whether that be Corel, Illustrator, or another design software. And then we also kind of broke down the software that's being utilized in your apparel decoration business, with Illustrator leading the way from this audience, Corel being a number 2, and then the Stahls Transfer Express solution of the EasyView Designer being number 3. And so if you're not a designer, that's a great way to have some design tools and templates at your disposal. But if you are a designer, you can kind of see the breakdown between Illustrator and Corel, the two traditional, design softwares for this industry. And then also we see a lot of people that are designers finding value even in our in solutions EasyView, and 7% of the audience outsourcing design. So those are your software investment priorities from decorators like you. Good. And then I just pulled out the note, which I already stated, is I feel like the shop management software and the e-commerce software can be kind of the key profit driver potentials on this list. And so if you're not looking at those, I would encourage you to look at those. And then lastly on this section is the product mix. What products are you offering today? What products do you expect to expand into? Not surprisingly, the t-shirt is king. 99% of the audience decorating and offering t-shirts. And then performance wear and headwear and bags and polos and knits, like all of these categories that you see highlighted here offered, I think are worthwhile because they can be decorated with a lot of the same technology, especially if you're into heat transfer. There's really not much of a change to do any of these other than just making sure you select the right heat transfer for the job, if the item's heat sensitive or depending on the fabric constructions. And so I believe you can get larger average orders and larger customer orders if you offer everything that's highlighted here. And then also interesting was the expansion plans into team uniforms, especially like from a soft goods standpoint, a lot of potential for team uniforms and people that want to expand in the team, which really tells us as a supplier and a vendor, we need to make it easier for you to grow in the team. We certainly have a selection of products, but we use this to guide some of our training efforts, product development efforts as well, which is a part of the survey. Okay, skills and proficiency. So what are shops good at? Where do they need to improve? And so this is a good self-reflection question. And when we really asked, what are you good at? Product quality rated the best by far. Less than 1% of people said they needed some improvement in product quality. So you all, decorators, are very happy with the product quality you're achieving with the processes that were represented earlier in the survey, which is great to hear. You're delivering high quality goods out to your customers. There was also general optimism in graphic design capabilities and artwork and production management and production efficiency. Again, this one kind of surprised me because there was a lack of shop management software being utilized. But I guess if you feel like you are efficient and you're managing production well without a shop management software, that's good for you. But I think there still could be an improvement there. And then most people thought that marketing needed the most improvement. And so 27% of the audience felt like they needed improvement in marketing. And there was also general pessimism around finance capabilities and print technology maintenance. And so the print technology maintenance is an interesting one because that could be why we see a correlation of not too many people investing into direct-to-garment printing or direct-to-film printers, because there is a heavy burden on technical capability and print technology maintenance. And so we saw the majority of our companies had 5 employees or less. Do you really want to tie up your employees' time with print technology maintenance? And so I think there's a correlation there. And then also, as an opportunity, I wanted to point out, if we feel like we have a general lack of a competency in marketing from a large percentage of the audience, potentially addressing some of these proficiency gaps through outsourcing is a great way to do it. Yes, you can hire a dedicated marketing person and build that competency on your team. That's certainly one way to go about it. But in a small business, outsourcing some professional services and marketing, certainly there's no shortage of marketing agencies and companies that can work alongside you to be able to help you to attract and grow new customers. So there's some questions coming in. I'm just going to take a second to take a couple of them. So Tony asks, what is a good shop management software? I'm not sure I have that data point in here, but I will tell you the majority of folks that responded to this that were running a shop management software were using either Printavo or Shopworks. And so I would recommend that you look at Printavo or Shopworks to start your journey. And then certainly there are a variety of other solutions. So if anybody is using a good shop management software other than Printavo or Shopworks, I'd recommend just chime into the comments and let's give Tony some recommendations. And Joy asked, does the Spirit Sale platform include shop management? I would say it includes some light shop management on sales that are acquired through the Spirit Sale platform, or quotes that are sent out and acquired through the Spirit Sale platform. So some of your e-commerce solutions, your web store platforms like Spirit Sale, have a light shop management on the back end. But if you plan to do a lot of volume, you're probably best to invest in a dedicated shop management software. And you can often go to an industry trade show and get a great demo of shop management software, or just go to those websites and schedule an online demo with any of the companies. And let's take one more question. Yeah, and I mean, good observation here, CT. EasyView can only go to Transfer Express, not in-house or outsourced. True. Yeah, so some of these company-specific designers, like our EasyView that we have as a design tool on Transfer Express, is like a purpose-driven solution to create screen printed transfers, direct-to-film transfers, to create when you plan to order the transfer from us, not something you can download the art and send to your own sublimation printer or whatever the output device is. So thank you for that. Okay, great. Let's keep moving and I will come back for more questions. Don't worry. So we asked another question on top 3 business challenges that people are experiencing. And here were the concerns. So inflated product costs becoming a major concern. So there's still general concern around inflated product costs. And we did notice that more people are absorbing these product costs and not raising their prices. I would encourage you to think about creating more value, finding ways to do that, and either raising your prices or investing in efficiency to offset the inflated product costs. Also, supply chain product turn time was a major concern of about 20% of the people. And then we still see issues around finding and retaining quality labor, those being the top 3 business challenges from decorators who responded to the survey. Now, here's one of my favorite sections because it gets really specific. And this is heat transfer department insights. And so we asked some questions around wages paid. We asked some questions around turn time offered. And I think this will give you a good idea of how you stack up and what you should be targeting as it relates to your turn time for your decorated goods or the wages that you're potentially paying your employees. So average turn time on decorated orders, here is what the audience is delivering in. So 26% of the audience is in the 1 to 3 day range, 29% in the 4 to 7 day range, 29% in the 8 to 10 day range. And then we had some outliers. Same day, 5.6% of the audience was literally delivering orders in the same day they receive them. I guess that's a lot of print on demand retail or kind of those mobile setting activations that we saw. And then we had 11 plus days. And again, with the adoption of some of the longer term stuff like emblems and patches, I could see if you specialize in that business, how your turn time would be a little bit longer. But by and large, if you can hit this 1 to 3 days, that's really fast in the market, and you would be better than 68% of your competitors. Likewise, even if you can hit the 4 to 7 day turn time, or 7 days or less, let's call it, you would be better than 38% of your competitors in the market. And so I always like to say it's price, quality, speed are kind of like the 3 factors that you can set up to win in your business. It seems like everybody's winning on quality, and then you can make a decision. Do I want to win on speed or price? Certainly, if you can hit all 3, do it. But what I would say is that I personally would rather focus on speed than price, because then you are getting product out the door quicker, increasing your velocity in your orders, and you're still able to charge a premium, investing that into quicker turn time. So this was really interesting to me to see that the vast majority of people that are stalls customers that responded are delivering product in 7 days. And certainly, as we work to increase the turn time of transfers, ordering direct to film transfers by midnight, we ship them next business day. Today, I think we announced, or maybe yesterday, order your screen printed transfers for your by noon Eastern time, ships the next business day. And so we're working constantly to get faster on delivery, so you can actually plan to deliver within these turn times. And then how long does it take you to heat press? And so this is designed, because I've seen you before, this is designed to call out those people that are taking 3+ minutes to heat press a garment. So it's only 9%, but that's still a pretty high number when you look at the majority pressing in this 1 to 3 minutes. And so, I'm sorry, in the less than 3 minutes. And so I consider that 3% or 9% or 3+ minute way above the industry average. And so if that's you, I think you really need to look at ways to become more efficient with your loading, with your placement, with your pressing, or perhaps think about other people that may be more competent at the heat press job to make sure you're turning out work in a reasonable amount of time. And Christina, just to jump back a slide to answer your question, does that include shipping time? This absolutely does include shipping time. And so basically, this means from the day the customer places the order to the day it's ready for pickup or shipped from your shop. And so the transit time of the garment and the transfer in between needs to be considered. And so like a 7-day turn would mean school places an order on day 1, I'm delivering to them, or they're ready to pick up by day 7, right? Job is completed. So hopefully that answers your question for what you were asking. Okay, again, let's work to keep those heat press times under 3 minutes. There are definitely tools, accessories, and training to help you with that. Threadable heat press, tag-along platen, dual air operated machine. There's a lot of ways we can increase our efficiency in front of the heat press. And then, so how much are we paying the heat press operator? Or if you're doing the work yourself, how much are you paying yourself to do the heat press work? Because that's important as well. And so 45%, we're in that $15 to $20 range, with 30% being at the 11 to 15 range. And so that's the majority of the audience. So what I like to do is take the data from the last slide, take the data from this slide, and let's calculate them together. And if I'm paying on average $15, which would be the middle of these two, between 11 and 20, and I have 60 minutes in an hour, it's costing me 25 cents per minute for my heat press labor. So if I'm pressing garments in a minute and a half average, right? I'm not even going to say at the 1 minute mark, right? Let's do a minute and a half, give you a little extra time. It's costing me about 38 cents in labor to heat press an item. And the reason I wanted to benchmark this is, there's three components to costing. There is your cost of materials, right? Which would be your transfer, your garment, et cetera. There would be your labor, which we're talking about here, and there would be your overhead. I find overhead is a little bit more of a mystery. We have some videos on our YouTube channel where you're watching this live stream. I think as recently as last month, I published a video on how to calculate overhead and why it's important. And so you can look that up, or maybe if we have stalls folks, we can find it and share it in the chat. But if you're not calculating those three in a good way, chances are you have a misunderstanding of your profit, which means you're probably not going to be on this list as decorators who have been in business 2 years or 6+ years over time. And so it's really important to pay yourself for the heat press labor, calculate all those factors in so we can keep the market price of decorated apparel where it needs to be, not pricing things below our cost, which sometimes we see with startup businesses that fully don't understand cost and really driving the market down. That's the point of publishing this data. So lots of data shared here. I'm interested to hear your questions. What were some of the insights that you valued? Again, the goal of this was just to become a little bit smarter collectively, for stalls to become smarter about what's going on inside of your shop so we can innovate better, train better, create better education, and just improve to make you more successful as a decorator, but also share it. Like, we don't want to keep this just to ourselves. We want to share it out there so we can start to understand better from our peers as an industry, so we can find little pockets of information to improve our business. And so we do intend to put out this survey every year. We do intend and would encourage you to look at the State of the Decorated Apparel Industry survey that's published by our friends over at Printing United, which is a much more global view of, I'd say larger shops from a screen printing embroidery perspective. This survey is heavily weighted into people that are in the heat transfer community because they're stalls customers. Okay. So Chris asked, is that calculated for two-sided or more than one placement? It is not. And so your average time to heat press a garment is basically a single print location. And so you would definitely want to juice up your time for multi-side placements. All right. See some good conversation happening in the chat around different printers, different shop management software. So that's all great. And it looks like don't have a ton of questions, but I'm gonna give you guys a minute to think of them, as we still have 160 people watching live here. And this is cool. Donna said she offers all 5 of the heat transfer technologies listed. So I would say that's good. Like, in my opinion, there's no real negative to having product breadth when it all runs underneath the same heat press. The trick is making sure you don't get so wide that you have like a really complex product offering and it becomes confusing to your customers. But if you kind of know which product for what use, and you really don't burden your customers with all the product names and all the details, the messy details, right? That's your job, is to simplify that and go out with a clean offer so a customer can get what they want, which is a nice branded product, and get to the yes a little bit quicker. Okay. So Joy says, I see you're attending the UV show in Nashville. Is that DTG? Actually, I think we have a partnership where we're attending with somebody at that, but I'd have to confirm. I don't know our whole event schedule, but certainly the UV space is a little bit different. UV is more of of course, an inkjet process. It's not direct to garment printing. It's different. It's primarily used out there for hard goods, but we see a lot of people with UV printers wanting to buy sheets of leather and print on them, and buy different medias from us and print on them to create heat transfers and decoration. And awesome, congratulations, in business since 1932, so over 30 years. That's awesome to hear. I've been in the decorating apparel industry probably since 1992. But at that time, I was cutting grass and cleaning the floor at stalls and started full time here in about 2002. Okay, here's some good questions coming in. Thank you, guys. Patty asked, do you normally charge about $5 for each extra print site, like 4 different prints? I think it's pretty normal to, I mean, you'll have to understand your cost to set the selling price, of course, but it's pretty normal to offer a $5 or somewhere in that range extra charge when somebody's already paid for the garment and the decoration for additional print placements, whether that would be sleeve, back, shoulder, whatever it is. That's pretty typical. Especially because you've done all the work to get the garment to the heat press and get it loaded on. And so being able to offer additional print locations, there's a lot of money and profit in that for you, because often those are smaller logos, which don't cost as much. Often they can fit on the same gang sheet if we're using plastisol transfer. So extra print location sales, that's business we want to be in. Some good questions here. I'll let the audience answer that. So does anyone have an average price that you charge for DTF transfers per garment? So it's a good question for the group. I'll let you guys chime in and just tag Hannah back on that one. And then, yeah, if you have a Stalls account, you do need to create a Transfer Express account separate to access our screen printed transfers. Quick, easy. You can have it done in probably 5 minutes at transferexpress.com. But they are same ownership, separate business entities. You have to have accounts with both. And yeah, well, we have a lot of education, but if you're still getting scorching with heat transfers, just some general tips. You want to drive down on temperature. You also want to drive down on pressure, less temperature, and then experiment with heated lower platens and different cover sheets. But overall, our direct to film transfer that applies at 290 degrees at only 12 seconds with a medium pressure and works with heat printing pillows is a great choice to be able to solve some of the scorching issues that people are experiencing. And been tracking my career. Thanks, Donna. Do I like Wheaties? Those are some collector things behind me in the back. So I love the Boston Celtics. And so it's a piece of the Boston Garden underneath the basketball. There's a 2008 autographed basketball from their championship year. And all those Wheaties boxes have a different Celtic on them, from Bill Russell to Kevin Garnett and so on. So I like sports memorabilia and sneakers, if you can't tell. That's what I'm into. And this webinar is recorded, so it'll show up as soon as we conclude in our live stream section on our YouTube channel. And I'm sorry that we had to move to YouTube. We just felt it was important to get the broadcast out today for those that have blocked the time to see it, but you can certainly play it back and watch it all. All right. Fresh City, Boston base. Hey, I got to go to, I was hoping they'd make it last year to the NBA Finals, but I guess it would have been 2 years ago now. I got to go up to Boston for a finals game against the Warriors. Fortunately, the Celtics lost, so it was supposed to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience, but I'm going to have to go back. I can't end on a loss here. And yeah, the new cap press, like, we could beat around and try to hack it with building up the platen and everything. But for most people that want to be efficient, it's well worth the money for the Hotronix 360 IQ cap press that heats from the bottom to solve your scorching issues and be able to apply the emblems and patches. And we are planning some pretty big developments in the Hotronix software and hardware for the Hotronix IQ technology. So stay tuned for that as we approach the end of the year. Hopefully we can solve some of these challenges and maybe give you some features that you've never thought of before. Just wait. I'm pretty excited about this one. And I think we're coming up on conclusion. So I'm going to take 3 more questions just to cap it off, and then we're going to wrap up today. So Amy asked, what is the best way to do UltraColor Max for print layout? So there's a lot of confusion around this. When you buy UltraColor Max, which is our direct-to-film transfer, you pay per square inch. And so the worst thing you can do, in my opinion, is put a bunch of logos on one sheet, because you are paying for all of that space in between the logos that you don't need to. And so UltraColor Max has no minimum order, right? And so I would recommend just upload the exact logo that you need, order as many as you need of that exact logo, put it in your cart, and grab your next logo, upload it. As many as you need, put it in your cart. Make sure you check out that cart altogether so you don't get hit with separate shipping charges for each. But you can order 1 of this, 12 of that, 6 of this, and really drive your whole business through UltraColor Max, especially if you're doing a lot of full color, low temp stuff. So order by the logo, don't gang sheet up. So hopefully that answers your question. And when should you use craft paper versus, I'm guessing that means the Teflon cover sheet? It's honestly preference, Deborah. I prefer the craft paper. It's easier for me to handle. And when it comes in contact with the transfer, it leaves more of a matte finish versus glossing it up like the Teflon does. I also find it almost to be like same on cost to be reusable. And so I always use craft paper. Some people prefer Teflon, but for me, craft paper is definitely the best. Thank you for the testimonial about the hat press. And Christina, another testimonial on the hat press. And Donna's looking to sell her press before the IQ came out. And am I pre-pressing UCM? Clarify, Doug. You mean like preheating the garment? I assume that's what you mean. If so, we always recommend preheating. I will tell you that if you're doing items that don't have any natural fibers in them, so don't contain any cotton, that are 100% poly, and they're not wrinkled or don't have any coatings, you can skip the preheat, save you a little bit of time on the Ultracolor Max when you're pressing it. And really any heat transfer going on 100% poly, you don't need to preheat. We just recommend it to simplify it, always preheat, but the reality is if you're more of an advanced operator, you can skip the preheat on synthetic fabrics. And last question is from Todd. Any HTV products we should be looking forward to? So I know we just launched the Chroma Bling product, which has been super popular. I think we just launched fluorescent colors of that. We just launched Puff HTV inside of this year. And I do believe we're building out some puff colors. I don't know exact timing on them, but our HTV product pipeline is pretty deep as well. And so I think we're leaning more towards effects and dimensional. And then we recently just launched new widths in the Ultra Weed product, which is our core HTV. And in case you didn't hear it, we're actually on the path to consolidate our Premium Plus line into one tack version, which will be the high tack. And so you'll see the low tack kind of, if you're using that, kind of disappear as we head into January. We're going to keep the core colors in stock through January. But if you rely on the low tack, stock up on it to make sure you have it, and then make another product choice as we move forward with the high tack or the Ultra Weed. All right, guys. Wow, that was a lot. We finished on time, even with our technical glitches up front. I really want to thank you all for moving over here and keeping me company. Hopefully the data was able to help you. We'll certainly be sharing more data, and I think you'll see how our product development and some of our education is informed by this survey. So for those of you that participated, thank you so much for joining and watching. And this will end the broadcast. You'll be able to watch it back here in a few minutes if you missed anything. Have a great rest of your day.